Wow, and just like that, we come to the closing session of the inaugural MIP Alumni Association Conference. It's been fantastic to follow all these panels throughout the day, and I'm sure we'll have some more great content over the next 40 minutes or so with our final star guests of the afternoon. So for this closing session, I'm delighted to introduce my three guests to discuss the MIP program at UEFA. So in no particular order, I'm going to start with Jason Roberts, who is the Director of Development at CONCACAF. Obviously, most of you joining this session will know Jason as a mean and lean center forward in the Premier League for a variety of years. Had a career that spanned over 20 years on the pitch, and now also making important moves off it. Jason, welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you, Pedro. I appreciate that, especially the lean and mean bit. Not so mean now. Definitely not so lean. So really looking forward to this. Just want to send good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody who's dialing in.
Well, I'm sure you are keeping lean because you're in Miami, and we all know that it's important to stay in shape out there. Jason, jokes aside, fantastic to have you on the panel, and congratulations for making a successful transition from on the pitch to off the pitch. Secondly, I'll bring in Gareth Farrelly. Gareth had a career of over a decade, mostly in the UK and in Ireland, Republic of Ireland International, and he's now a sport and litigation lawyer. He's a CAS arbitrator and a member as well of the Premier League judicial panel. Gareth, we see a lot of each other virtually these days through another project that you're supporting as well in Player for Player. Welcome. Fantastic to have you as well, and congratulations also go to you for making the smooth transition from being on the pitch to the boardroom.
Thanks, Pedro. Pleasure to be here.
All right, and thirdly, not so famous for his exploits on the pitch, but very valuable for everything he does off it. Also delighted to welcome Thomas Junot onto the panel. Thomas, of course, is the head of the UEFA Academy and really the instigator and pioneer behind the UEFA Executive Master for international players. And it's great to have you on here as well. And you're joining us from the UEFA headquarters, and normally, obviously, because of the pandemic, not as busy as it normally is. But Thomas, fantastic to have you with us. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Pedro, and hi, Jason. Hi, Gareth. Very nice to see you both, and hi, everyone who are joining today for this very, very good conference, which unfortunately, if I understood correctly, is already going to conclude now with us. But it was a fantastic day, really.
All right, well, let's go out with a bang, gentlemen. And I'm going to get stuck in right away with the first question to Thomas, because I want you to explain why UEFA created this program and what was the thinking behind it.
Yes, Pedro. Before maybe I answer fully this question, again, let me tell you how much I am and how much UEFA is delighted to see the MIP Alumni Association having put such a great event together. I attended most of the discussion today, and to be honest, I learned a lot, and I'm really grateful to the organizer for having offered us such interesting discussion today. The UEFA MIP now, it has been created to make sure the players who are interested in learning and discussing about the way the game is managed can do it. So to see that this idea did not vanish with the graduation ceremony at the end of the program is absolutely fantastic. On top of this, seeing so many of our graduates now holding key position in football organization is another source of great satisfaction for us. Now, to answer your questions, Pedro, where we, UEFA, decided to launch a Master for International Players together with our partner, because we didn't do it alone. There was a CDES at the University of Limoges, Birkbeck College at the University of London, the European Club Association, and FIFPro. So when we decided with them to launch the UEFA MIP, the idea was to encourage more football players to consider a career in football administration. We knew that many players are willing to stay in the game when their first football career is over. And until now, most of them were considering a second career in a technical position, such as becoming a coach, for example. This is obviously nothing wrong with this, and UEFA and our member association have been promoting and encouraging such transition for a long time. But the reality is the following: there are not that many of such positions. And some players, let's also be honest, are not interested in this part of the game. On the contrary, there are more positions in the administration of football and a great variety of jobs. A career in sport administration can mean many different things. It can mean working in marketing, can mean working in human resource, it can mean working in a legal department or unit in the organization of events, or potentially it may also mean developing a career as a leader of a club or a national association. So creating the MIP was for UEFA an opportunity to broaden the horizons of players willing to stay in football. It was also providing football organization with an opportunity to have in the future more people having such an incredible knowledge of the game among their staff. Let's just think about it. Being from promoting football and its emotion, or regulating our sport to avoid some pitfalls. We had just a very interesting debate before about football agents. Who are better placed than people having excelled on the pitch to shape the future of the game? So this is why, Pedro, UEFA wanted to do with the UEFA MIP. We wanted to create this program to equip former international players with essential professional skills so they can achieve their ambition of transitioning to a second career within football organization. But it was also allowing this organization not to lose this knowledge, this energy, this passion which exists in football players. So this is why UEFA launched the MIP.
Thomas, thanks. And I have to say that I've had the pleasure of participating in all three sessions so far, and I've been really impressed with the way that former players approach the course, how much they are dedicated to it. And I'll direct a question to the two former pupils, Jason and Gareth, regarding what skills you feel the course gave you, and what is perhaps the most important thing that you took away from it?
Thanks, Pedro. I want to just start by congratulating everybody who's participated, everybody who's watched and been part of this conference. I think you could see by the level of conversation, by the level of experts, by the level of ex-players, and just the delivery of the conference, that this is a huge opportunity for us, and so much value can be added through these platforms. So I just want to congratulate everybody on this. I think Thomas just gave a great overview of what the MIP actually was about, what the ambition was from the stakeholders. But from a player's perspective, coming out of football, it is a difficult time. You've been doing something you love, something that's extremely difficult, if not impossible to replace. But beneath that is an ambition to keep giving back to the game. And I think that's something that you would have seen on the panels that we've had today, but also that's run through the project and the individuals who's been part of this since, I believe it was 2017 when I started. And like most things, I think what I got from the course was the knowledge and the belief that what I had learned through playing the sport and being a part of the industry were transferable skills that I could take on and give back to the game in a different way. Like most players, you know that you have to do the work. And if you are going to be involved as a coach, as a manager, as an administrator, it's going to take continued professional development. It's going to take working. And the stakeholders putting together the course really found a way to tap into that in a way that was very powerful for ex-players. What we created was a network. What we really did was continue to create and foster a family environment, a dressing room where we pushed each other and we worked really hard and we didn't leave any space for excuses. And we wanted to show that we had the required skills to continue to be a part of the game. And I see when you look at the list of ex-players and the roles that they've gone into and the things that they've been able to achieve shows that, yes, they were talented footballers, but actually beneath that, there was a knowledge and a drive to utilize the game in its purest sense, in my view, which is, how do we make the game better? How do we use football to change the world? And I think that comes from a belief that whilst we played the sport, we have something to offer, and it's something a little bit different. It's something that can really sit along all of the other skill sets that exist within these organizations. And then after that, you need people to believe in you. And I've been very fortunate at CONCACAF with our president, Victor Montaliani, who believes that ex-players, that knowledge is important. And myself and Karina LeBlanc, ex-goalkeeper for Canada, we've been tasked with doing a lot of the work around development of the football component within the region. And I think that this course allowed me to inspire myself and to dream that I could go for a role like this and be successful in it. So I feel that I've been very fortunate, and I would certainly encourage other people to look at these courses, to continue to develop themselves and look at other areas to be part of the game.
What about you, Gareth? What did you take from the course, and how important has it been in assisting your transition?
Thank you, Pedro. I think in its simplest form, I think today in some ways is the realization of all the work everybody's done on the course. I think as a matter of housekeeping, it would be remiss not to talk about, obviously we have Thomas on the call, but I think we have to have special mention to CDES, Birkbeck, and the other partners within the course, because without the care and support of those people along the way, there's a recurring theme today with regard to some of the words that are used, and one of those is transition. And I think it's worthy of note that the quality of the speakers today has been exceptional across all of the panels, but from a player transition point of view, as you sit back and listen to everybody speak today, I think everybody who's been on the course will recognize kind of their own personal evolution and development through the course, because what was mentioned earlier to a degree is people are absolutely comfortable playing in front of 50,000, 60,000 people without even any remote issue or fear as to that. Whereas even presenting like today, and you listen to the substance of the panels, you listen to the quality of the moderators, you listen to everybody speak. And I think for me, that in many ways is the epitome of the development that we've all kind of had. So I think the course gives you a number of different things. In some ways, you are stepping into the unknown when you finish playing football, because it's been your life, you're institutionalized, you become comfortable in that environment. But as Jason has said, and as we would all advocate, is that it's one part of your life. And also amongst the panels today, what you hear is there's a purity and a clarity around everybody, be it in the roles they're now occupying. And not everybody is in the dream role yet. That's part of the evolution and development as well. But the point is that they want to build something of substance, and they want to be a part of something that will leave a legacy. So I think in separating it, moving from having not been in an academic environment, not being classified as a professional, you mentioned corporate or business environments earlier on, you talk about office environments, things that are totally alien to us. But I think that the way the course is structured over the 7 modules and the ability to come together, and we can talk about community today, but I think it's really today is kind of that first opportunity for us to demonstrate our evolution in one way, our transition in another, but also where we're all at now. And the fact that the recurring theme that I think we'll take away from today is the fact that everybody wants to affect the game in a positive way. And again, just again, the housekeeping point on that, Pedro, is obviously thank you so much for your input today. We can talk about yourself, Leon, Olga, fellow board members who've put so much work in today, and I think it's been really strong. So huge credit and thanks to everybody for that.
Really appreciate your opinion and insight, Gareth. And a question for all three of you is how impressed you've become with the MIP Alumni Association itself, and and the power of coming together, and not only for the course, but then staying together and staying in touch to make sure that you can help and support each other to reach your goals, and to also make sure that you can play your part in football being a force for good. So how have you seen that relationship continue to evolve, and staying in touch with those former colleagues, and the power that you now have to continue not only to help yourself, but help others?
Who do you want to take that one, Pedro?
Jason can go first again.
Yeah, I'll take that, Pedro. I think that it really is a virtuous cycle in that regard, in the shape of the education opportunities, the vulnerability, the team ethic that we built as we all came out of our careers looking for an opportunity to continue to learn, to do the work, to ensure that we were in the right position should these opportunities be afforded to us. But then when and if you are given that opportunity, or even at the end of this particular journey of education, how can you ensure that you turn that to inspiring others, to helping others? And I think that that's what we've seen through the two cohorts that have gone through, and the third cohort, is that there is a relationship that's been built between all of us, which is actually about how do we help each other? How do we create that virtuous cycle of making sure that, yes, we want to do well for ourselves and our families. Yes, we want to continue to learn, but how do we give back? And I think that that is at the core of the alumni. The alumni is about players supporting each other. And I think that now we have a collection of what I think is thought leaders who have a unique experience in the game, from playing at a high level to then searching out continued knowledge and being successful, but then also recognizing the value in working with each other and building a community of these individuals. And I think now, you know, with this conference, we are in a position to be more visible in the industry, you know, with our social media content, what we've been able to do here with this conference. But also, how can we ensure that we can create more career pathways for existing and future players? How can we collate the goodwill that is afforded to the ex-players, and also talk about the great work they're doing in their next career, whether that be coaching, management, technical directors, and/or administrators? Because I think that creates that narrative that actually, you know, there's a huge benefit to having people who have this experience in your organization. And I think that's the wider impact of this network. I think we've started well with this. I think that the ambition is there, and I want to thank and just support Gareth on the points that he's made for everybody who's been part of this. But we're just at the start, and the hope is that in many years to come, players coming out of their pathway will look at us and find an organization that they can engage with and that can help them as they look for the next stage in their lives and their careers.
Over to you, Gareth, and then we'll Thomas.
Yeah, I think one of the big things today, Pedro, has been the energy again. And I think somebody touched on that earlier on about that, the feeling and the emotion and the fact of everybody's individual feeling for the game, right? So I think what we've got today is an example of that leadership and kind of that acumen. And I think that the hope you take away from that is that people start to recognize the MIP alumni as a resource that they can tap into. And again, it comes back to that, the fundamental premise and principle being to help make the game better. I think we've listened to like a range of the footballing stakeholders today, and we talked about one of the only elements that was discussed in great detail about this conference itself is the fact that we haven't been able to do it in person, and we're going through an incredibly strange time with regards to the pandemic and how everybody has had to adapt over the last 12 to 13 months. But I think what's very much in the forefront of our minds is, what do we want that game to look like in the next 4 or 5 years? And I think it's a really, really relevant and valid question. And the point about the course for us again is, as say people will classify ex-professional footballers highly successful, that what the course gives you is the ability to develop your strategic thinking and move beyond just opinion, and for it to become an informed opinion. And I think, again, that's something that I think has really, really come through very, very well today. And that gives us a platform to move forward. We talk about like board members, but there's a responsibility, because whilst we don't get that feeling of playing football anymore, within the alumni now, there is that spirit, and it is separated out. You've got the first cohort. I was a part of the second cohort. If you look at the quality of those people involved in the third cohort now, you mentioned Didier Drogba, Florent Malouda, Kaka, talk about Emile Heskey, John O'Shea, Aaron Hughes, people that are following their journey, is that the MIP will hopefully develop strategically and continue to have that support around us that has helped us all. And we will then all continue to see everybody thrive in whatever positions they get into. But I think the important part is that we have to continue to develop like that drive. And it's fascinating how Arsene Wenger spoke earlier on, because when he spoke about the specificity of the skill set that people have developed, and that drive and that kind of appetite and mentality that never really leaves you. And I think that's one of the things, again, from today that you can we'll all reflect and look back on, but to look at where everybody was, and again, different times when they started their journey on the MIP, to see where they're at now, is that progression and appetite for learning and appetite for succeeding never really goes away.
Thomas, from a leadership standpoint of this course, how have you seen the importance of the MIP course and the Alumni Association and working together in their network?
Yeah, I think from a course organizers, you expect mostly two things from a program. First of all, that the participants learn something in the programs and then get position in organization, or progress in their career. And also you expect to be able to count on a supportive alumni to make sure the spirit of the programs continue after the graduation ceremony. And I think with the MIP, we are super happy organizers, because in terms of people developing career, again, I mean, the conference today is a great proof of it. To give you just a statistic, over than 80% of the players who came through the first two promotion of the MIP hold what we can really consider as a senior position within a football organization nowadays. So fantastic, statistics and progression for the vast majority of the participants. And considering the alumni point of view, I mean, we've seen today, I mean, this amazing conference, but I think the idea of the Alumni Association goes further than simply, keeping the link with players. We can hear from what Gareth and Jason are saying, that they also want to be kind of a voice for the players, to help other players, to encourage other players to go from this transition. And I think this is really good that this alumni is not only supportive for people as part of the alumni, but wants to play a bigger role. I also believe now that it is more accepted that football players want to keep playing a role in football after the termination of their sporting career. And in the future, I would say this will even be expected from them. So my hope is that there will be, expected as well from players to attend the MIP. And the UEFA MIP should be kind of the logical place for players stopping their career due to the quality of the programs, but also thanks to the strengths of the Alumni Association. So this is really why I think UEFA will keep working closely with the MIP Alumni Association to make sure it benefits the programs, of course, but also to make sure the association can continue its important activities and can continue to prosper.
A question more directly to Jason and Gareth is, what would you say to a player who's at the peak of his career now, is obviously involved in a tough kind of calendar, train, travel, play, recover, and left school probably quite early in their lives in order to pursue this dream of becoming a football player, which they've reached. But they haven't started yet to consider what's next, okay? So a player in the peak of their career, how do you get them to focus on what's next? And what's the importance of education and pursuing an interest into a second career?
That's a great question, Pedro. I think first and foremost, there is a personal responsibility. There's no doubt about that. There's a personal motivation that will be different with everybody. And I think that's absolutely clear. There'll be people who are motivated to really look at what the next step is and see that coming quicker than some who do somewhat get consumed by the football, consumed by what's happening week to week. But I think there is also a duty of care from the game, from stakeholders, whether it's the agents, whether it's the clubs, whether it's the leagues, whether it's the association, the member association, to ensure that we are creating a pathway that is achievable and something that actually can be seen and can be believed, that it's an opportunity for you to continue to turn what you know, to turn your skills towards something else. I think that it's important to have that mentorship, to see it, to believe it, to have people who you believe in, who are similar to you somewhat, maybe have had the same journey, who are able to speak to you in a way that you understand. We know that football is so consuming, and I know that when I was a player, it was very easy to dismiss some of the advice you would get because you're so caught up in the moment, you're so caught up in the game, which means so much to you, means so much to everybody, means so much to the business. But actually, you know, the realization that the game will stop for all of us, the realization that you will not be able to beat Father Time, and it comes when it comes. So I think tangibly, I think the stakeholders need to engage around that duty of care. I think we need to promote players being lauded and championed for continuing to go to school, for continuing to educate themselves. I think there's a fear in some environments that if you are continuing to improve yourself outside of the sport, that you're not focusing on the sport. And I think that can be extremely damaging. So I think that all of the stakeholders can engage more. I think as mentors, as organizations like the MIP Alumni Association, we can continue to reach out to young players and give them that mentorship and that seeing it and believing it opportunity. So I think it's a variety of things, but first and foremost, we need to ensure that it's achievable for players to continue their journey into education.
Pedro, youth is wasted on the young. I think there's no simple answer with regards to an archetypal conversation about transition, because as Jason said, while you're playing, you're bulletproof. Your world is solely focused around what you do. In many cases, your identity is solely associated with what you do. I think within the course, one of the things I found, especially within our cohort, was that as you start to transition, there's an absolute honesty amongst the group. And the point with the absolute honesty is that you will probably show that vulnerability around where your mind is at with regards to not knowing the answer. And as we say, for 15, 20 years, you will have known that answer. You will have had an absolute confidence in when you step onto the football pitch, what your ability, physicality, and mentality will allow you to do. Whereas then one Sunday you're a footballer, and then on the Monday you're not a footballer anymore. And I think that does create different challenges. And that's why when I talk about a diversity of thought, I mean it's having a visible presence now and having the respect of the stakeholders, not being perceived as a threat to those stakeholders, but something that can add value and a different voice. Because, Pedro, we all live or die by the quality of that engagement. And I go back to the MIP, the people within UEFA, within CDES, within Birkbeck, within all of those stakeholders, that when you walk in that door and there's that degree of fear, because it's a whole new world for you, that immediate interaction is somebody that says, don't worry, this is going to be okay. And that comes back again to looking at the conference as a whole today and thinking to see each person's development. It's something that you take a degree of pride from. So as Jason says, I think it's something that we need to work on strategically, which is to strengthen that voice, but then for people to also be trusting of you, not just on the fact that you've played football before, but then that they can also see what people are doing now and have a respect for that, and also then have an appetite themselves to go, right, well, even within the second career, there's no reason why I can't look to achieve the same again, but how do I do it? And that comes back to that strategic thinking again.
Okay, so what is the responsibility of the MIP Alumni Association in your view? What's next? What do you hope to accomplish and help accomplish in the football industry? And start first with Jason and Gareth, and then get a closing remark as well from Thomas on expectations of this elite group.
Thank you, Pedro. Look, I think for us, it's clear that we want to continue to engage not only with ex-international players, we also want to continue to engage and mentor and be part of the solutions to ensure that we can make the game better. We have these pillars of development with education, expertise, and integrity. From an education standpoint, we will continue to believe that we all need to do the work, that we need to find those continued professional development opportunities to show we have the required skills to be part of the administration, the coaching, the management, and the overall environment of football. And that will provide the expertise. We have a unique experience, and I think that's what makes this cohort, and actually what makes a lot of ex-players who are looking at what their next step is, to look at this opportunity and also look at the continued environment and the ecosystem of education, and then having that integrity to have the heart of the game, to have the best interest of the game central to our thinking. And I think when we are, as a board, myself and Gareth and Bruno and Bianca and Keld and the rest of the team and Gaika, when we're discussing what needs to be done, we're doing it from the view of how do we make the game better. And I think that's absolutely important. And I think that we are here to engage with stakeholders. We are here to continue to champion the best practice of ex-players, and also to maybe shout a little bit about the success of some of the players who've been through this pathway. And also, I think it's important for us as well to ensure that we give something back to the game. And I think it starts with the people who have invested in this course, and it starts with the time and the belief that we have as an alumni that we can take the education that has been received, and we can turn it into some wider impact for not only those players who are part of the MIP, but also those who look to us as mentors and want to continue to grow within the game. So I think it's about collaboration. There's a lot of stakeholders there, there's a lot of individuals, but actually it's about that collaboration. I think we have an unrivaled group of what are thought leaders now who have had a unique experience and are now ready to turn that experience towards a wider impact to ensure that our game is better.
Over to you, Gareth.
Yeah, it's a brilliant answer from Jason. I think one of the things about the course and one of the things about education is once you start, it sets you on a lifelong learning process. The more you learn, the more you want to learn. And as I say, I think today has been thought out. It's been a long time in the making, and I think it does show the unique element of this particular group as an MIP, as an alumni, and we look forward to the next program, graduating and becoming members of the alumni. And as we know now, the recruitment process has started for MIP4. So I think that over the next period of years, and I come back to my point, Pedro, which I would say is, what do we want the game to look like in the next 5 to 8 years? Because it's been an incredibly challenging time for football, and it's going to be really, really key that the stakeholder voices and that there's a diversity of thought and a diversity of opinion within that as to what will make the game continue to thrive, and for us all to maintain that love, that lifelong love of the game that we've had. So I think it's a really, really exciting time, as it always is. But I think today will hopefully have demonstrated to everybody that the MIP Alumni Association can play a part in that.
And a closing word from you, Thomas, as well, from an outsider's point of view. In this case, a little bit assessing the work that your former students have done and where they go from here.
Well, I mean, again, regarding the alumni, I think we have to be thankful to the group who put this conference together, but also all the people, the active members of the alumni, which makes this group a living group all around the years, even in the difficult times. We are now still through with the COVID. You know, this alumni enable everyone to still be in touch, and this is really fantastic. I think the alumni, from UEFA point of view, I mean, is free to develop its activities as they want. So, you know, we try not to be too directive there, but to be there to support. And this is how I would like to conclude. I mean, probably the role of UEFA is to keep supporting the alumni, to keep supporting the program. So we hope to maintain this dialogue, to make the programs even better, to provide even more important assistance, I would say, to the program's participants and to the program's graduates. We know also at UEFA that actually there is much more need than just, you know, what we can answer through the MIP. This is why we have launched, for instance, the UEFA for Players application, to plant the seeds in the mind of young players that they should consider, you know, preparing already for a second career, even if they are really performing well on the pitch. This is why also we are working currently on other initiatives to reinforce basically this message and this education for players, education for, I would say, players off the pitch. And finally, I would like to wish also all the best to all the current and future alumni members of the MIP. I mean, what they have achieved in 3 years, 2 years, depending when they terminated the programs, is amazing. And I can only expect even more good news and even new promotion, new people accessing fantastic position in the world of football, because the world of football need also football players to take care about the organization and the future of the game. So I'd like to wish everyone the best of luck for their developing career.
Thomas, thank you once again from my side. Great work putting the program together. Jason joining us from the CONCACAF headquarters in Miami in the United States, and Gareth Farley also with us from Liverpool. Congratulations to you as well on making that transition, and for being a part of this inaugural MIP Alumni Association conference. I'm sure there'll be many more of them. Thank you so much for your time, all of you, and for sharing your thoughts on the program and your vision for what this elite group of professionals can do to ensure the good of the game for years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Pedro.
Thank you, Pedro.
Thank you all.
And with that, we're going to blow the full-time whistle on this conference. It's been a tremendous day filled with 8 sessions where everybody had an opportunity to listen to expert voices on important matters in the world of football, not only for the present of the game, but for the future. We opened up at 9 o'clock this morning talking about the alumni program itself, hearing from Bruno Cheru and Bianca Rek. We then heard from Arsene Wenger on the importance of former players making a transition into the leadership roles in the game and what they can bring with them. We discussed the role of the sporting director, talked about women's football and its potential for continued growth. That was the morning session. In the afternoon, heard from Andrea Radrizzani, the Leeds United chairman and owner, on leadership. Talked about player agents as well and regulations in the afternoon, and closed off with this panel here as well with Jason, Gareth, and Thomas. From my side, I can say it was a pleasure and a privilege to help host this event, seeing a lot of familiar faces, hearing a lot of valuable voices throughout the last few hours. Thank you for everyone who participated online as well, everyone who followed the stream. And of course, there are a few thank yous to pass around, also to CDES, the academic partner of the UEFA MIP, who also supported the production of this conference. Thanks as well for UEFA for being a partner of this MIP Alumni Association conference. Also, shout out to Twitter for being the social media partner of this conference and streaming it and allowing the world of football to be able to follow all of this content and insight for free. And of course, a big thank you to all the speakers, all the participants who took time out of their days to join the conversations and share their expertise. As I close, I would like to remind everybody watching that Jason Roberts, who just participated in the last panel, will be available for a question and answer session on Twitter Spaces. That'll kick off in about a quarter of an hour's time. And one thing's for sure when speaking with Jason, he always speaks his mind, so feel free to shoot over questions that you would like him to answer about the world of football and his experiences on and off the pitch. So from my side, it's see you soon, and hope to run into many of you that I'm sure are following physically in the near future, and if not, virtually for sure. A big thank you from all the production team as well behind the scenes, Leon Mann and his team. It's been an absolute pleasure. Take care, continuation of a great afternoon, and a successful week to all of you. Of course, it's a big football week as well, with the Champions League and Europa League matches taking place. See you soon.